Okay, here's another very valuable pattern that I use regularly when I do a forecast. So I haven't really focused on this section. Basically, these are numbers. You could hard code anything in here you want, okay, and, the numbers will come out across the months. We've already walked through this, but now what I want to really demonstrate is that this is now coming from the scenarios. Okay, so I have a whole bunch of relative defined names using that start with SCEN for scenarios. Okay, so we go to scenarios, and you'll see here that we have a high scenario, a medium scenario, and a low scenario. And we basically just use this button to, let's see, there it goes. Something's wrong. Okay, it's okay. Sometimes it's slow. It's an Excel thing. You basically just do a drop down. Okay, and I'll show you how I do this: medium or low. Okay, and you can see every time I do it, this is changing. Okay, because I'm basically using different values. Now I want to see what the results are. I can go back to expenses, but I put in scenarios here a few things so that I could see it all at one time. Basically, this is a view of it. Okay, and here's the graph, the same thing. So let's see if I could collapse this for a second so we can see it all at the same time. Go data and now outline and group. Okay, so I'm going to collapse that group. And now when I change this to medium, you see how all the numbers change. Okay, now this is a link to that. It's not really like a standard link. It's an image link. I'm not sure if a lot of people know how to do that. It's incredibly useful. I'll just do it really quick here. Let's say I highlight these and then I copy and I could paste a link here, an image link, and now this is actually an image. And I could format it any way I want. If I change the word medium to whatever I change, that's going to change. I really like that. I use it all the time. Okay, so basically this is what we saw on the expenses tab. So it's all just an image of what is on the expenses tab. Okay, again, so you can just change that. Okay, now, so how did I do a few of these things? So let's just, let's look at this for a second. So this is now there's a lot of other sites that talk about this technique. So I'll just show it really quickly. Data, and then you go to validation. It's one of these, because it's collapsed. I'm not sure. Okay, it's data validation. And here's it's list. And then it's looking at, in this case, it's looking at this information, which is derived from other calculations. Let's just, it's derived from basically, it looks at high, medium, and low. And so, for example, if I change this to highest, this should automatically be changing to highest. Okay. That's the goal of this. Now, it's a real challenge to actually do that, believe it or not. And this file will be available on the Excel pattern site, so you can look into how it's done. But in any case, it's on the support tab, and this is basically another formula, valid scenarios formula, each one of these, and it pulls it in and it looks at the information. It looks at whatever is in scenarios in this section, and it makes it happen, basically. It does all the math. I'm not going to go through it here because it's really not the purpose of the patterns. There's an easier way to do this. I'm just going to show you that right now. So you could say, it's more manual. You could say high, okay, medium, low. So this would be the same exact thing, but now it's not going to change. as you use it. Now, okay. So I've explained that. Now this section here is basically figuring out how to respond to this information. So if I change this to low, how is it responding? I have this the scene value, the scenario value. And that is responding by looking at this scene value, and you can really do this yourself as look into it, how this is calculated, but by looking at the real data. Okay, this is the, I'm sorry, looking at the real file. Oops, I didn't want to go that big. Okay, so you can sort it here, look at scene value. I'm just going to describe it in regular words and not look at the formulas, because you could do that. It's really not intellectually so challenging, but it's more important to just understand it conceptually. So this word low, okay, what it's doing is it's looking for the word low on this row. And when it finds the word low, it is then figuring out where to start looking at this information. So let's just take a look at a few things here. So you can see just by clicking on that, it's looking on this row for where to begin based on low, that low word on this row. Okay, now the other thing that's that I like, that I've used in this model is, you see this cell G4? G4 says high, but it's over here. It doesn't look like it makes sense. What I've done is I've put in, it's not a merge cell. It's not a merge cell. I don't like merge cells. Basically, I don't like them because it's really hard to change the width, and it makes it really challenging to change the width versus what this is, which is a cell that is formatted with, I'm going to aligned with an alignment of center across selection. That I find more useful. I could just actually make this narrower, and this too. But it does. You can not. It doesn't. You could do anything you want. Basically, I could also create a new one. Well, it's not going to work now because I hard coded that. But you can create multiple scenarios, an unlimited number of scenarios, basically. And using that automated system, it will you'll be able to, it will update the drop down so that you can always get one of the scenarios. So I like doing this because this is a way of, when you're modeling, you could group everything as low. So if, let's say, you're raising $500,000, it could be low. If it's $20 million, it could be high. And everything could be related to that grouping. Everything could fall under high, medium, or low. It could be medium 2, medium 3, medium 4. You can make as many different scenarios as you want. I like doing this. And then this number is then flowing to the expenses tab. And this is pulling it. It's really not a complicated formula here. It's basically just saying this A4 is equal to, I could just show you really quickly. I'll go to formula, and that scene setting, step in, it just goes scenarios B6. So remember, this would be B6, C6, D6, etc. Okay. So the value, the value of doing it this way is you have these scenarios that will flow into here that then change the whole model. And if you, all you got to do is go into scenarios and change the model. The whole model is changing all at once based on what your assumptions are. So scenarios, assumptions, this is really a very useful pattern for playing with numbers and determining what's the best strategy. Okay, that's it.